Welcome to Law Days and Lattes, the podcast where we blend the world of law and business with a warm cup of information and common sense. I'm your host, Sidney Wheelan, attorney, real estate investor, and business owner. Each week, we'll be your go-to source for legal insights, business advice, and so much more. Whether you're a seasoned professional, an ambitious entrepreneur, or simply someone seeking guidance, we'll have you covered. From navigating the legal landscape to empowering you with valuable business strategies, we'll explore the legal side of life and enjoy a virtual latte along the way. So, grab your favorite latte, get comfortable, and let's dive into Law Days and Lattes. Welcome back to Law Days and Lattes, where we break down the legal world over a warm cup of coffee. I'm Sidney Wheelan, owner and managing member of the Wheelan Law Firm of Moberly, Missouri. I'm a trial lawyer by profession and have been working in the courtroom either trying cases or assisting with trials for most of my adult life. Last week was different, though, because I spent most of the week observing a jury trial from the audience point of view. Let me explain. This was a murder trial in my hometown, a quiet, small, close-knit community in North Missouri. Let me just say this. Violent murders, while not unheard of, are thankfully not the norm for this community. And if you know anything about small communities, you are aware that everyone knows just about everyone else and most of their business as well. In this case, I have known the victim and her family for most of my life. I knew the defendant too, and his family. Some of the members of the jury were well known to me as well. And some were new faces that I didn't recognize. If you've ever wondered what really happens inside the courtroom when a case goes to trial, this episode is for you. Today, we're diving into one of the most fascinating aspects of our justice system, the jury trial. Because I was not involved in litigating this case, I could observe and assist in explaining the process to those courtroom observers that were trying to make sense of the courtroom procedures and sometimes the courtroom theatrics. While the judge and the attorneys for both parties had their jobs to do, many people observing from the audience were left in the dark, wondering what was happening at various points in the trial. I want to walk you through the step-by-step process, from jury selection to the verdict, and I'll share some insights from my experience as an attorney here in Missouri. So, grab your coffee and let's get started. Step 1, the jury selection process. The first step in any jury trial is selecting the jury, a process called voir dire or voir dire. Attorneys for both sides, along with the judge, question potential jurors to determine if they can be fair and impartial. In this particular case, almost 120 jurors were called in an effort to find 12 impartial jurors and 2 alternates. Some jurors may be dismissed for cause. For example, if they know someone involved in the case or if they have a strong bias. Others may be removed through preemptory challenges, where attorneys can dismiss a certain number of jurors without providing a reason. The goal? Always to ensure a fair and unbiased jury panel. As a side note, this process can be strategic. Attorneys for each side are looking for jurors who might be more sympathetic to their case. The jury selection process in this trial took most of the first day of trial to get the jury seated. The second day of trial began with opening statements. This is where each side lays out their case, what they plan to prove, and why the jury should rule in their favor. Think of opening statements like a roadmap. The prosecution, if this is a criminal case, or the plaintiff's attorney, if this had been a civil case, goes first, followed by the defense. But remember, Opening statements are not evidence, just a preview of what's to come. Next is the presentation of evidence and witness testimony. Now we get into the heart of the trial. Each side presents its evidence through witness testimony, documents, videos, or other exhibits. The direct examination is when the attorney calls a witness and asks questions to support their case. Cross-examination is when the opposing attorney questions the same witness to challenge their credibility or poke holes in their testimony. Redirect and recross. Sometimes attorneys go back for another round or two to clarify certain points. This is where trials can get dramatic. Think of those tense courtroom moments you see in legal dramas. But real trials are often much slower and much more methodical. Often there may be conflicting testimony, and it's part of the jury's job to weigh the evidence and the credibility of the witnesses. Next, we get to closing arguments. After all of the evidence is presented, both sides give their closing arguments. Unlike opening statements, closing is where attorneys can be a little more persuasive, tying together the evidence that may have been admitted piece by piece, highlighting key points and urging the jury to decide in their favor. The prosecution or the plaintiff goes first, followed by the defense. In a criminal case such as this one, the prosecution gets the last word with a rebuttal. Now, before the jury deliberates, the judge gives them instructions on the law. The jury instructions are hammered out by the attorneys and the judge, out of sight and hearing of the jury. There may be opposing viewpoints on which instructions are appropriate for this type of trial, and the judge will make the final decisions on which instructions will get presented to the jury. These are crucial because they guide how the jurors should apply the law to the facts of the case. Jury instructions are often lengthy and detailed, and they can significantly impact the outcome of the case. Now, the jury goes behind closed doors to discuss the case. In criminal trials, the verdict must be unanimous in most jurisdictions. In civil cases, most states do not require a unanimous decision, but do require a certain number of the jurors to agree on the verdict. The jury might deliberate for hours, days, or even weeks. Once they reach a decision, they return to the courtroom to announce the verdict. In criminal cases, the jury decides guilty or not guilty. And in civil cases, they determine liability, and if applicable, they determine the damages. If the jury can't agree, it's called a hung jury, which may result in a mistrial. And that's a jury trial in a nutshell. From voir dire to verdict, it's a process designed to ensure fairness and justice. Of course, every trial is unique, and real-life courtrooms aren't always as exciting as TV dramas make them seem, but the stakes are always high. If you found this episode helpful, be sure to subscribe to Law Days and Lattes for more legal insights. Have a topic you'd like me to cover? Send me a message. Be sure to like and follow this podcast so that you don't miss a single episode. And also, be sure to share it with your friends and family so that they too can benefit from this information. Until next time, my friends, grab your favorite cup of coffee, stay informed, hold your loved ones tight, and have a great week.
This podcast episode contains general information for discussion purposes only. Each case is different and must be judged on its own merits. Missouri rules generally prohibit lawyers from advertising that they specialize in particular areas of the law. This show should not be construed to suggest such specialization. Nothing on this show should be taken as legal advice for any individual case or situation. This information is not intended to create an attorney-client relationship, and the listening or viewing of this podcast does not constitute an attorney-client relationship. The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely upon advertisements.